Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. I'm your host, and yeah, we're really glad you're joining us again. We're continuing our series looking closely at the sources in the Ruhi Institute books, and today we're carrying on with Book 6, Teaching the Cause. Now, before we really jump into the deep end today, I just wanted to take a quick moment to talk to you, our listeners. We've noticed, actually, that a pretty big chunk of you tune in regularly, which is fantastic, but only about 45%, maybe a bit less, are actually subscribed. So look, if you're getting something valuable out of these detailed sessions, hitting that subscribe button, it's honestly the best way to support what we do here. It helps us keep making these deep dives. And, if you want to go a step further, maybe get early access or some exclusive bits down the line, you could think about joining our membership. Seriously, though, any support, subscribing, joining, it all directly helps us put in the hours needed for this kind of exploration. We really appreciate everyone listening, subscribed or not. Thanks for being on this journey with us.
It's great to be back and continuing this. And just as a reminder, maybe for anyone newer, the Ruhi Institute books, they're not just textbooks, are they? They're really a sequence of courses. They're designed to help people in the Baha'i community, build up their knowledge, yes, but also their spiritual qualities and their practical ability to serve.
It's all about capacity building, really.
Exactly, foundational stuff. And today, we're picking up right where we left off in Book 6. If you happen to miss our first session on Section 1, it might be worth going back for that foundation. But today, our mission is all about Section 2 of 3. Qualities and attitudes essential for teaching. This is the internal work, isn't it?
It really is. This section focuses entirely on, you could say, the inner life of the teacher.
Yeah.
We'll be unpacking the specific guidance, the sources that help us reflect on those essential spiritual qualities.
Yeah.
And the key thing right from the start is that the writings aren't saying achieve perfection, then go teach.
Right. That would be impossible. We'd never start if that were the prerequisite. The pressure would just be immense. Precisely. The focus is much more on the striving towards perfection. And that striving happens through the act of service, through teaching itself. It can be messy, it can be difficult. The Baha'i writings, they give us the ideal, the spiritual mountain peak we're aiming for. But it's the actual act of teaching, doing it consistently, applying these principles. That's the spiritual forge. It strengthens and refines the very qualities we need to eventually reach that peak.
Okay, so let's start with that core idea, because it really frames everything else we're going to talk about. The sources talk about being and doing, being, well, inseparable. What does that mean in practice? How do they feed each other?
It fundamentally means you can't really sustain one without the other. A genuine spiritual life, that inner refinement, that being, it has to express itself outwardly in service, in doing. And the flip side is also true. You can't really engage in effective, selfless service for long if your inner life, your connection, your spiritual state is neglected. It's like two sides of the same coin.
So if I just tried to be, patient internally, but never actually put myself in situations where patience is tested, like teaching,
Then that patience remains theoretical, maybe fragile. The sources suggest true inner perfection needs application. It needs expression in the real world, in service. And teaching, well, it's presented as a primary spiritual duty for Baha'is, so it's a key arena for this.
Okay, so that actually gives a lot of confidence then, doesn't it? We don't have to wait until we feel perfectly equipped.
Not at all. That's the beauty of it. We arise to teach now. We step out, knowing that the very qualities we think we lack, maybe courage, maybe patience, selflessness, those qualities will actually be strengthened by doing the work.
So the action itself fuels the spiritual development.
Exactly. The action feeds the spirit empowers the action. We trust that the divine help, the confirmations, they come through the effort, not as a condition before we make it. It shifts the focus away from, oh, I'm not ready, to the power inherent in the cause itself.
That's a really crucial reframing. Okay, so from that general principle, let's dive into the specific qualities. The sources start with the absolute core, the motivator, purity of heart and intention.
Yes, Section 2 kicks off with this incredibly comprehensive passage from Abdu'l-Bahá. It lists the spiritual prerequisites for actually spreading the teachings effectively. It's like a profound internal checklist.
It really is quite something. Pure intention, an independent heart, attracted spirit, peaceful thought, firm resolution, exalted magnanimity, and being a shining torch in the love of God. That's already a high bar. And then he goes even further, saying we need to become sanctified above and purified from this world, working for the good of everyone, becoming light and delicate like unto the essence of the Spirit.
Wow. It's quite a scope, isn't it? It's not just about feeling pure emotions. It covers, intellectual peace, strength of character, a kind of spiritual independence from worldly stuff. and that command becomes sanctified and purified, it sets the stage. It's the necessary condition for our words and actions to actually have a genuine spiritual effect on someone else.
Yeah. Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. In a world where we see polished speakers, maybe slick marketing, why does this inner purity of intention matter so much? Can't good technique make up for, let's say, less than perfect motives?
The sources are really clear on this. Purity is like the lens, the divine message, the teachings they need to pass through us. If that lens, our intention, is smudged with self-interest, with ego,
Then the light gets distorted.
or blocked altogether,
Yeah.
the lack of sincerity, even if it's hidden, it gets felt. Maybe not consciously, but the listener senses something isn't quite right, regardless of how eloquent the speaker is. Bahá'u'lláh says words detached from purity are like dust, basically, no impact.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's look at the specific pitfalls the sources warn about these impurities that can sabotage teaching.
Yeah, these are the subtle ways the ego tries to sneak back into the picture.
The first one mentioned is a sense of superiority. Now, this is tricky. If I truly believe I have something vital to share, isn't some confidence necessary? Couldn't that be mistaken for superiority?
Ah, that's a crucial distinction the source implicitly makes. Confidence in the message, in its power, that's essential. That's faith, really. Superiority is different. That's placing the esteem on yourself as the messenger, thinking, I have the answers and you're ignorant. That attitude, it just builds a wall. It's condescending.
Even if you don't say it out loud.
Exactly. Bahá'u'lláh warns against thinking you're even slightly superior. Superiority feeds pride, and pride is the opposite of the humility needed for real connection and influence. If you approach someone like they're broken and you have the fix, instead of seeing them as a spiritual equal with capacity, well, you've kind of lost already.
Okay. The second impurity, the desire for recognition, wanting praise for teaching.
This one's also quite insidious. It redirects the whole focus. If my underlying reason for teaching is that I want people to say, wow, they're such a great teacher, or look how much effort they put in.
Whether that praise comes from the community or even the person you're teaching.
Right. Then my primary motivation becomes about me, about feeding my own ego. The goal shifts from serving God or helping that person grow spiritually to getting my own validation. The real reward is meant to come from God. Seeking it from the world really undermines the whole thing.
And the third pitfall listed is ambition. How does ambition mess things up in a spiritual act like teaching?
Ambition here means prioritizing a personal goal over the actual spiritual well-being of the person you're teaching. Maybe it's hitting a certain number of enrollments for a community goal, or maybe it's about gaining a reputation or position.
So like rushing someone through the process just to tick a box.
Exactly. If I compromise the depth and integrity of sharing the faith just to get a quick yes because it serves my goal or the community's target, I've put my ambition ahead of the sacredness of that individual's spiritual journey. It turns teaching into a kind of self-serving numbers game.
It seems like all three, superiority, desire for recognition, ambition, they're all just different ways the ego tries to put itself right in the center of something that's supposed to be entirely focused on God and the other person.
That's a perfect way to put it. And it leads us straight into section 3, which tackles this trap of self-centeredness head-on and talks about relying on divine assistance instead.
This line between genuine desire to help and self-centeredness feels so fine sometimes. I might feel truly warm towards someone, want to share this amazing thing, but if my internal voice is saying, look at me, helping out, the focus is still on the I, isn't it?
That's exactly the trap. It's subtle. We can be doing a good thing, but if we're seeking validation from the action, it's still about the ego. The guardian gives us the antidote, doesn't he? He assures us that when we actually manage to forget ourselves, when we just strive to serve, that's when divine help flows. We're not the source of the power. We're just the instrument.
It is not we who do the work, but we are the instruments. That's a powerful quote.
It really is. It takes immense humility and reliance on God to truly live that, to see ourselves as just a channel. The power isn't ours. It's in the cause. It's in the confirmations of the Spirit.
And the Guardian talks about the impact of just one person who manages this, right? A pure and selfless channel.
Yes, he emphasizes that just one mature soul, someone with real spiritual understanding and deep knowledge of the faith, acting selflessly, can set a whole country ablaze. It's stunning. The power comes from that maturity and selflessness, not just cleverness or personality.
Okay, let's really test this idea using those internal statements provided in the source material. They give us these glimpses into a teacher's inner thoughts, and we have to figure out which ones show an effort to avoid putting I at the center.
This is such a useful exercise because our own emotional investment can sometimes cloud our judgment about our real motives.
Okay, statement one. May God open his heart and endow him with true understanding, self-centered or not.
That's clearly avoiding self-centeredness. The focus is entirely external on God's action and the friend's receptivity. It takes the burden off the teacher's performance.
Statement two. I hope that my own shortcomings will not prevent him from recognizing the truth of the faith. What about this one? It mentions I.
It does mention I, and there's anxiety there, but I'd say it's still avoiding self-centeredness. Why? Because the anxiety is rooted in humility. The concern is for the friend's recognition of truth, not the teacher's image. It acknowledges personal flaws, but keeps the higher purpose central.
Okay, statement three. It feels good to teach. I feel great when I convince someone of the truth.
That one feels pretty clearly like self-centeredness. The main reward highlighted is personal feeling, the ego boost from convincing someone. The satisfaction comes from the feeling of success, not necessarily from the service itself or the friend's spiritual journey.
Right. Statement four. After everything I've done for him, explaining things so carefully, he had better become a Baha'i. This sounds harsh, but isn't it natural to feel invested after putting in effort? How does that thinking undermine things?
It reveals a really problematic mindset, actually. It's transactional. Selfless service isn't a business deal where enrollment is the payment for your time. When you think he had better, you're basically saying, I expect a return on my investment. You're trying to control the outcome, putting your desire for achievement above the friend's free will and God's timing. It turns a spiritual offering into, well, like you're trying to collect a debt. That's definitely self-centeredness.
That's a powerful way to look at it. Okay, statement five. I hope that my friend will recognize Bahá'u'lláh and feel the same joy that I have felt in serving his cause.
Now, that's profoundly avoiding self-centeredness. The hope is entirely focused on the friend's experience, their recognition, their joy. It shows empathy and prioritizes their internal transformation.
And the last one, statement six. Oh God, please put the right thoughts in my mind and give me the right words so I can share the teachings in a way that touches his heart.
A perfect example of avoiding self-centeredness through complete reliance. The speaker knows the ability, the words, the power to connect it doesn't come from them. It has to be granted. They're positioning themselves as a humble, dependent instrument.
So the constant theme here is mentally stepping aside, recognizing we're just channels, hopefully clear ones, for something much bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And that reliance, that stepping aside, requires two crucial qualities that come next: faith and courage. Section 4 looks at faith.
I love the imagery Abdu'l-Bahá uses here, looking with eyes of faith into the future, seeing the seed become a tree. It's about looking beyond the immediate, maybe discouraging results, isn't it?
It has to be. If we only measure success by what we see right now, teaching can feel, well, pretty futile sometimes. And the Guardian asks that fundamental question. If the fire of faith isn't burning in our hearts, how on earth can we expect to light a spark in someone else's? Our own conviction, or lack of it, is palpable. It gets transmitted. Faith gives our words spiritual weight.
So if others can feel our conviction, what exactly does that faith need to be in, specifically for teaching? The sources help break it down.
Yes, and it's more than just general belief. It's operational faith for service. We need 1, faith in the power of divine assistance. Really believing God will help us when we sincerely try to serve.
2, faith that Baha'u'llah's teachings are the answer for humanity's needs right now, believing this is the medicine the world needs.
And 3, faith in the capacity of every single soul to recognize Baha'u'lláh. This one's huge practically, as it stops us from writing people off, from only talking to certain types of people.
And I guess that faith has to extend to the whole system too. The covenant, the institutions, the ultimate triumph of the cause, even when things look bleak globally.
Exactly. It's that deep, radiating conviction. This is it. This is the light that gives us the foundation for the next essential quality: courage.
Right, section 5. Courage. Why is courage presented as absolutely necessary, not just, a nice to have?
Well, Abdu'l-Bahá tells us to speak out with great courage, relying on the Holy Spirit's confirmations. Courage is needed because sharing something so personal, so deeply held, makes you vulnerable. You have to step into unfamiliar situations, maybe push past your own shyness or feelings of inadequacy, sometimes go against cultural norms about discussing religion, and you have to be willing to face indifference or even rejection.
That definitely takes guts, especially if you're naturally more reserved.
It does. But the assurance comes from knowing what's behind you. The hosts of the kingdom are on your side, the Guardian says. When we place our trust fully in God, we find a strength beyond our own. The sources challenge us if we lack courage. If we're timid, we instantly limit what God can do through us. Our fear becomes the bottleneck.
And here's that reciprocal thing again. The act of teaching actually builds courage.
Exactly. It's like a muscle. You don't wait until you feel brave, you take the step, you act, and the courage comes. It confirms that, quote, the source of courage and power is the promotion of the Word of God and steadfastness in His love. Prioritize the Word over comfort, and the strength follows.
Okay, so we need faith for conviction, courage for action, but then Section 6 insists courage needs to be modified by wisdom. Why is wisdom the governor here?
Because courage without wisdom can be disastrous. It can lead to being reckless, provocative, alienating people, maybe even harming the faith's reputation.
But wisdom can't be an excuse for just doing nothing, right?
Absolutely not. Wisdom isn't passivity. It's the spiritual intelligence to know the right time, the right place, the right way to present the message tailored to the person.
The sources use that analogy of the teacher as a skillful physician from Abdu'l-Bahá. Can you unpack that a bit more?
It's such a fitting analogy for teaching. A good doctor doesn't just throw pills at everyone. They first diagnose the disease, they figure out what's actually wrong, then they prescribe the remedy. So the teacher needs to listen, observe, understand the person's context, their needs, their spiritual state, and then offer the teachings in a way that resonates, that's digestible for them. And that requires tolerance, kindness, patience, good character, basically.
Let's really dig into those practical wisdom scenarios provided in the sources. These are where the rubber meets the road, aren't they? They're complex.
They really are. They show there are no easy cookie-cutter answers in teaching.
Okay, scenario 1. You're talking with two friends. One's really interested, asking questions. The other is clearly getting uncomfortable, resistant. What's the wise way to handle that split?
It's a real balancing act. You need the courage to keep nurturing the interested one, but the wisdom not to alienate the resistant one. So the wisest thing is probably to gently steer the conversation, focusing on the receptive friend's questions, maybe touching on more universal, less challenging aspects for a bit so the resistant friend doesn't feel cornered or attacked. Crucially, maintain kindness towards both. Keep that door of fellowship open for later.
Scenario 2. Someone listens really attentively while you share the principles, but they say nothing. No feedback, no questions, just silence. What do you do?
Yeah, silence is ambiguous. You need diagnostic wisdom here. Are they deep in thought? Are they just being polite? Wisdom suggests shifting gears, move from presenting to asking gentle, open-ended questions. Not necessarily directly about the faith yet, but maybe about their thoughts on the issues you just discussed. It gives them an easy way in, without pressure.
Okay. Scenario 3. Enthusiasm needs principle. A new friend is super excited, wants pamphlets to hand out at a partisan political rally tomorrow. What's the wise move?
You have to balance appreciating their zeal with protecting the faith's non-political stance. Wisdom demands a polite but firm no to distributing materials at a partisan event. You explain why the faith is universal, above politics, and getting involved would undermine that. Then, importantly, redirect that wonderful enthusiasm towards something appropriate, like a community service project or helping with children's classes. Principle overrules impulse here.
Scenario 4. Handling disruption in a public meeting. Someone tries to derail things, arguing about a specific law, refusing to accept answers.
The skillful physician recognizes this isn't genuine seeking. It's likely about creating conflict. Wisdom says protect the atmosphere for the majority who are seeking. Address the question clearly and kindly once. If they persist disruptively, politely but firmly steer the conversation back to the main topic, thanking them for their input but not letting them hijack the meeting.
Scenario 5. Dealing with misconceptions. A relative visits and suggests your children's classes are just a sneaky way to convert their kids.
Oof requires real tact and wisdom in framing. The wise response is to immediately shift the focus entirely onto the educational aspects, moral development, virtues, service to humanity, things everyone values. Emphasize the classes are open to all, not about proselytizing, just about building good character and capacity in kids. Focus on the universal benefit, not recruitment.
And scenario 6. Supporting a new believer whose family is upset. A young person enrolls, but their parents are very worried.
This needs long-term wisdom, focusing on family unity. It's multifaceted. First, guide the youth. Emphasize showing even more love, respect, and patience to their parents. The faith strengthens families. It doesn't break them. Second, offer immediately to meet the parents yourself. Show deep respect for their concerns. Listen patiently. Gently clarify misconceptions. Seek understanding and reconciliation, not division.
Looking at all these, wisdom seems to be this blend of applying principles with love and situational awareness, making sure our courage actually helps rather than hinders.
Beautifully put. It's the applied intelligence of love and principle.
Which flows perfectly into Section 7, insisting that all this wisdom and courage needs to be soaked in loving kindness. Bahá'u'lláh says, consort with everyone in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship.
Kindness is the magnet, isn't it? He calls a kindly tongue the lodestone of the hearts of men. Even if we're sharing the deepest truths, it has to be done with utmost kindliness and goodwill. And if someone rejects the message, our job is to leave them to God and never treat them unkindly. Kindness is like spiritual food, the bread of the spirit.
But just like with purity, the sources warn us about fakes. We need to tell true kindness and patience apart from their lookalikes. Paternalism, maybe even hypocrisy, and negligence pretending to be patience.
Right. Real kindness empowers the listener. Paternalism, even if well-intentioned, subtly diminishes them.
Let's use the examples again to check for sincerity. Scenario 1. You explain things kindly, but the moment the listener disagrees, you get visibly annoyed or upset. Was that initial kindness genuine?
Probably not. If the kindness vanishes when you face disagreement, it suggests it was conditional. Maybe it was masking a need for approval or attachment to getting a yes. Real kindness endures, whether the message is accepted or not.
Scenario 2. Talking to someone with less formal education, you keep interrupting with, "Do you understand, dear?"
That sounds like paternalism. The intent might be good checking comprehension, but the tone, the word dear, the repetition, it can come across as condescending, like you're treating an adult like a child. It undermines their dignity.
Scenario 3. Meeting someone with less schooling, you decide the core ideas are too complex for them, so you water down Baha'u'llah's message to just a few simple, maybe materialistic points.
Again, that's paternalism. And it's the serious mistake. You're judging their spiritual capacity based on their academic background. You're basically withholding the richness of the faith because you assume they can't handle it. Spiritual capacity isn't tied to degrees.
Okay, compare that to scenario 4. You meet someone with less formal education, but you give a full, thorough presentation of the essential truths, read passages, discuss them deeply, acknowledging it takes time. Patience or paternalism?
That sounds like patience and respect. You're honoring their innate spiritual intelligence. You're investing the time needed for real understanding, trusting their ability to grasp profound ideas when shared clearly and with love.
Scenario 5. You help a neighbor enroll, and then you stick with them, kindly helping them learn and connect with the community over the next 6 months. Paternalism.
No, that sounds like essential, ongoing, loving kindness and support, what we call consolidation. The relationship continues because the focus is genuinely on their spiritual growth and well-being. It's selfless accompaniment.
And scenario 6. You meet an interested father, give him a book, but decide he looks busy, so you'll wait 3 months before following up. Patience or negligence?
That smells like negligence disguised as patience. If someone shows genuine interest, there's a spiritual responsibility to follow up reasonably soon. Waiting months isn't patience, it's inaction. True patience is persevering despite difficulties, not delaying when there's openness. Life is busy. That initial spark needs fanning, not ignoring.
So the litmus test seems to be genuine respect for the person's inherent spiritual reality and capacity.
Exactly. Which brings us back almost full circle to the foundation of purity. Detachment, which Section 8 discusses as vital for keeping joy in teaching.
Detachment is another one I hear misunderstood sometimes. People think it means being cold or uncaring or even giving up worldly things. But the text links it to joy. If we're too caught up in praise or criticism, we lose the joy that quickens our steps. What is real detachment for a teacher?
It's primarily emotional independence from the immediate outcome. It means whether my presentation today leads to enrollment or polite refusal, my inner peace, my commitment to serve again tomorrow, isn't shattered. We make the effort as an act of love and obedience to God, and we detach from controlling how it's received. This detachment frees the heart from being tossed around by temporary results.
Baha'u'llah's description here of the ideal state for teaching is incredibly rich. Let's break down those 6 requirements he lists.
Okay, first, the teacher needs to be stirred by the breath of Him who is the unconstrained. It emphasizes the source our motivation should be spiritual, a divine calling, not just personal interest or wanting status.
Second, minds wholly centered in Him. What's that look like when I'm in the middle of a conversation trying to figure out what to say next?
It means keeping that ultimate focus on God, even amidst the interaction, not getting sidetracked by how am I doing or what will they think or what else do I need to do today. The mind stays clear, focused on the message and the soul of the friend.
Third, hearts completely detached from and independent of all things. Does that mean quitting my job?
No, definitely not in most cases. It's about emotional and spiritual independence. It means worldly ups and downs, job stress, financial worries, desire for fame. Don't paralyze our ability to serve. We're not internally chained to material concerns.
Fourth, souls, sanctified from the world and its vanities. Purity again, freedom from shallow goals.
Yes, ensuring the message isn't polluted by our own worldly ambitions.
Fifth, choosing reliance upon God as the best provision.
Absolutely key.
Yeah.
Trusting in his power, his confirmations, not just our own smarts or eloquence or resources. Reliance means believing the strength will be there when we step forward.
And sixth, being clothed with the love of their Lord.
Love is the driving force, the essential atmosphere, the reason we do it. It's that warmth that can melt resistance.
And the result. If these qualities are present, Baha'u'lláh says their words shall influence their hearers. The power is in that state of being detached, consecrated, loving, reliant.
And this state isn't passive. Abdu'l-Bahá then calls for ceaseless labor, working day and night, ignoring hardships, seeking no rest, using every fleeting moment to share the message. It's intense dedication born from that inner state.
That intensity leads right into Section 9, passion and zeal. We're clearly not meant to be lukewarm about this. Baha'u'lláh wants us to set all men on fire.
And Shoghi Effendi echoes that, calling teaching the paramount and most urgent duty, the dominating passion of our life. If we aren't genuinely on fire, joyful, enthusiastic about how this message can change lives and the world, how can we possibly ignite that in others?
But here's that crucial tension again. Passion is essential, but we absolutely must avoid proselytization, putting undue pressure on people. So be passionate, but don't push. Be proactive, but respect boundaries.
It's one of the trickiest tightropes to walk in teaching. We need to be effective, not passive, but strictly avoid crossing that line into coercion. Let's use those scenarios again to explore this fine line between enthusiastic E, overstepping O, and maybe unenthusiastic ineffective.
Okay, scenario 1. You love the faith so much, you naturally weave its principles into conversations, mentioning Baha'u'lláh when it feels right.
That sounds like healthy enthusiasm, E. It's organic, guided by wisdom and love.
Scenario 2. You're so enthusiastic, you basically corner people and make them listen to your whole spiel, even if they're clearly not interested.
Yeah, that's overstepping O.
Yeah.
Big time. It violates their freedom to investigate and just breeds resentment. Disrespectful.
Scenario 3. Trying so hard not to seem fanatical that even when someone asks a direct question, you give a tiny answer or just tell them to read a book.
That falls into unenthusiastic and effective. Fear is stopping you from actually sharing the message when someone is clearly asking for it. It's a missed opportunity.
Scenario 4. In a village where everyone knows everyone, your team decides to visit every house because skipping someone would actually cause offense.
That sounds like enthusiastic and culturally wise. It's systematic outreach tailored to that specific social context, showing respect for everyone. Not pushy, but thorough.
Scenario 5. You go to visit new believers for deepening. Family says they're out, so you just leave feeling disappointed.
That leans towards unenthusiastic ineffective. A minor hurdle stopped the effort. Why not engage the family members who were there, even briefly? Opportunity missed.
Compare to scenario 6. Person isn't home, but you greet the family warmly and ask if they'd like to chat about the faith, knowing the village is generally receptive.
That's enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Adaptable, seizing the moment, respecting the potential in everyone present.
Okay, scenario 7. Teaching where people lack basic services, your team promises a school and clinic if they become Baha'is.
Textbook overstepping. And dangerous. Why? It's using material desperation as leverage. It's basically bribing people into the faith, not attracting them to its spiritual truth. It creates a fragile, conditional conversion based on need, not belief.
Versus scenario 8. You trust their spiritual capacity, have deep conversations, explain how institute courses build community strength, and offer to help a group start studying.
Clearly, enthusiastic-y. Respectful, empowering, focused on sustainable growth and capacity, not material quick fixes.
Scenario 9. Starting every meeting by handing out declaration cards and saying, join whenever you feel like it.
That's overstepping. Giving out enrollment cards right at the start creates pressure It frames the whole interaction around conversion before investigation has even happened. The timing makes it coercive.
Contrasted with scenario 10, share teachings, answer questions. Then towards the end, if people seem genuinely ready, explain what enrollment means, stressing it's totally their choice, no pressure.
That's enthusiastic. Wise timing, respectful of the process, acknowledges the potential outcome without forcing it.
Scenario 11, starting meetings by saying, we're not trying to convert you, just sharing ideas, take years to decide.
While well-intentioned to avoid pressure, this can slip into unenthusiastic, ineffective. It risks downplaying the transformative power and purpose of the faith. It could sound like you don't actually believe it's that important yourself.
Scenario 12. You've taught a friend for a while, you see genuine belief sparking, so you warmly invite her to join the community.
Enthusiastic. That's the natural, loving culmination when the time feels right, guided by wisdom.
But scenario 13, same situation, you see the spark, but you just keep inviting her to events, vaguely hoping she'll join someday, never actually making the invitation.
That's back to unenthusiastic and effective. It's timidity dressed up as patience. You risk letting that moment pass, letting the friend drift, because the significance of the choice wasn't clearly presented.
And lastly, scenario 16. A team plans youth activities, talks about service, invites them to deepenings, ready to help them study courses, and they're aware some might be ready to enroll soon and won't shy away from inviting them.
That sounds like a holistic, enthusiastic approach. Structure, substance, service, and openness to spiritual commitment, all done with sincerity and wisdom.
The common thread in the example seems to be confidence in the message, persistence, respect for the individual, and trust in the process, not in pressure tactics.
Exactly. Which requires the next quality, section 10. Humility, the ultimate antidote to the ego.
Abdu'l-Bahá's description of the humble teacher is so powerful, fully enkindled with passion, yet utterly humble and lowly, completely self-effaced, so the message isn't about them, but comes from the melody of the concourse on high.
Humility changes the whole dynamic. The teacher shouldn't see themselves as the expert and the other person as ignorant. Abdu'l-Bahá warned that such a thought breedeth pride, and pride is not conducive to influence. Instead, the ideal is approaching it like two friends investigating the truth together. It respects the listener, creates equality, allows the message to be heard without defensiveness.
That focus on equality is crucial for avoiding taking credit for successes, which leads right into that stark warning about pride in section 11.
Yes, this is where the Guardian gives one of the most sobering pieces of advice in all these materials. Any success in teaching is a gift from God. We're just channels. Period.
And he draws that direct, scary line between pride and becoming spiritually useless. If a teacher, even for a moment, thinks they achieved this success through their own skill, his work is ended and his fall starts. He says that's why some really capable people, after amazing service, suddenly find themselves absolutely impotent.
The connection to the divine power source gets severed the instant we claim ownership. It's chilling. The solution: stop focusing on ourselves, whether our strengths or weaknesses. Rely completely on God. Let our hearts burn with the desire to serve Him, and the power, the ability to touch hearts will flow as a matter of course. It comes from the act of arising in reliance.
Let's see how pride, or lack of it, plays out in those collective teaching scenarios. Scenario 1. A team is using a method that works, but one person feels their special talents aren't being used. What's the humble response?
The humble, selfless response is taking part joyfully, doing whatever needs doing alongside everyone else. Resisting because the task feels beneath your talents. That's pride, self-centeredness disguised as concern for quality.
Scenario 2. A group hears about a successful approach used elsewhere. What's the wise and humble reaction?
The best way is examining it carefully, seeing if it fits their situation, maybe adapting parts of it, trying it out, and learning from the experience. Humility lets them learn from others. Wisdom tells them to adapt, not just copy blindly. Pride would dismiss it out of hand. We know better here.
Scenario 3. An experienced teacher visits an area where things are moving slowly. What does humility look like?
The humble and effective approach is listening first to the local friends, understanding their experiences, joining in their plans and actions, and then sharing relevant insights from elsewhere, appropriately. Pride would show up as lecturing, telling them what to do, or just talking about your own past glories, ignoring their reality. And humility is also the key to adopting an attitude of learning, which is section 12's focus. Without humility, we think we know it all. We become blind to our own gaps, and we stop growing.
We have to accept that teaching isn't just a formula, right? We don't always have the perfect answer. So we need this posture of learning, constantly reflecting and adjusting, not getting stuck arguing about whose method is the right one.
Absolutely. The Universal House of Justice counsels exactly that, an ongoing cycle of action, reflection, consultation, studying the guidance, analyzing experience. We learn by doing and refining. Let's look at the learning scenarios.
Okay, scenario 1. A weekly meeting for interested friends starts strong, but attendance drops off fast. What's the learning response?
The learning posture says, try a different format. Maybe study some quotations together on a specific term next time. You notice the problem, reflection. Now you act, change format, focusing on substance, writings, not just entertainment or giving up.
Scenario 2. You're sharing principles that mean a lot to you, but your listeners seem bored or disengaged.
Learning means reflecting. Why isn't this connecting? The response is, try to understand what they are concerned about. Find relevant teachings that speak to their lives and weave those in. Adapt the message to the audience's needs. Don't just repeat what excites you.
Scenario 3. A team finds people are struggling with the concept of God as presented.
This needs collective learning. The best response is, study relevant passages together as a team. Prepare a clear statement explaining Baha'u'llah's teachings on God. Try it out. Listen carefully to reactions, reflect, go back to the writings, adjust the statement, and repeat until it connects. That's systematic learning in action. Consult, act, reflect, study, modify. This constant learning and adaptation, driven by humility, leads us to the ultimate nuance in presentation. The golden mean, guided by Shoghi Effendi in section 13.
This guidance feels incredibly sophisticated. It's all about balancing firmness with flexibility, tailoring the approach to the listener's specific spiritual readiness.
It is. He gives us these parameters, these neither-nor boundaries. We must be neither provocative, unnecessarily antagonistic.
Nor supine, too passive, weak, or wishy-washy.
Right. And neither fanatical, overly zealous, demanding, imposing.
Nor excessively liberal, watering down core truths to make them palatable.
Exactly. And within those boundaries, we need immense flexibility based on who we're talking to, how open they are. We might need to be wary or bold.
Act swiftly, or mark time wait patiently.
Use the direct method or the indirect method.
Be challenging sometimes, or conciliatory at other times.
And this applies to everyone, rich or poor, educated or not, religious or secular. It's about their spiritual receptivity, not their social label.
And the core mandate running through it all? Never hesitate, never falter, don't look down on the poor or be intimidated by the powerful. And crucially, never overstress the truth, making it seem harsh, but also never whittle it down, compromising its integrity. Present the cup of salvation fully, but with all the necessary virtues.
Let's connect those extremes to receptivity. Why is attacking someone's current faith provocative?
Because it puts them on the defensive instantly, right? It stops being a search for truth and becomes about protecting their identity. If someone isn't ready, starting with, your priests are wrong, just shuts the door.
Exactly. But conversely, if someone is receptive, asking deep questions, and you use an indirect, vague approach.
Then you're being supine.
Yeah.
You're failing to meet their need for clear answers.
Precisely. Let's look at the concrete examples of the extremes from section 14. What does provocative look like?
Examples given include attacking someone's religion up front, or maybe starting a talk with wealthy people by saying, your wealth is a veil, before building any rapport.
Yes, and supine.
Saying the faith is just like all other religions to avoid conflict, which loses its unique message, or giving a really weak answer about contributing to the fund because you're afraid to mention money.
Okay, fanatical examples.
Demanding new people give up everything now, or arguing aggressively using their own scriptures against them like a weapon, or maybe imposing Baha'i practices on guests at a first meeting.
And excessively liberal.
Suggesting core beliefs like maybe life after death instead of reincarnation are just matters of opinion. Or implying administrative laws aren't really binding, it's sacrificing truth for popularity.
So the truth itself is firm, but how and when we share it needs incredible wisdom and adaptability.
And the perfect model for this, section 15 says, is Abdu'l-Bahá himself.
Yes, the guardian holds him up as the standard. Wise and tactful, wakeful and attentive initially, broad and liberal in public talks, but cautious and gradual when unfolding the deeper truths.
Passionate in appeal, yet sober in argument. Confident, unswerving, dignified. It's that perfect blend of courage and wisdom.
That's the aim. The golden mean in action.
So these inner qualities naturally shape how we relate to people. The final sections look at that relationship. Section 16 is about fellowship.
Fellowship is presented as the bedrock for teaching. It's about consciously cultivating the ability to connect with, to befriend people from absolutely all backgrounds, even if we're naturally shy or there are social barriers.
The guidance is so rich. Dispel the darkness of estrangement. See everyone as a potential friend. Show utmost loving kindness. Meet negativity with love. Become medicine for pain. Always work for the common good. It's about genuine loving connection.
It's selfless service expressed through relationship.
Which leads to that vital point in section 17, the balance between example and utterance. Being good versus speaking out.
Yes, the first set of quotes hammers home the importance of our character. Our actions have to match our words. Actions cry aloud. Upright conduct gives power to what we say. We have to be kind, not just talk about it.
But then comes the warning. Don't use teaching by example as a cop-out for not actually teaching.
Exactly. The corrective is strong. If their task is confined to good conduct, nothing will be accomplished. We have to speak. Speak out, expound the proof, set forth clear arguments.
So it's both hand. Character gives the foundation and credibility. Utterance delivers the actual message. Rely on God, open our mouths, and share his cause.
And the ultimate example, wrapping it all up in section 18, is Abdu'l-Bahá again, especially during his travels. The Guardian paints this picture of his incredible vitality, courage, focus, consecration. He lived all these qualities we've discussed.
Championing the poor, yet warm to everyone. Frank about the faith station, yet dignified. Indifferent to hardship, yet full of compassion.
And the defining trait, that incomparable spontaneity, the genuineness and warmth of his sympathy and loving kindness shown to friend and stranger alike. That's the model, the living embodiment of this selfless teacher.
Wow. What an incredible journey through the inner landscape required for teaching. We've touched on purity, selflessness, humility, courage, faith, wisdom, kindness, zeal, detachment, learning, fellowship, and finding that golden mean.
I think the big takeaway weaving through all of it is that effective teaching isn't just one thing. It's this dynamic, inseparable process of working on our inner selves, the being, and stepping out in proactive, selfless service, the doing. They constantly fuel each other.
And maybe the most liberating point, the one we started with, is that we don't have to master all these qualities before we begin.
Exactly. They aren't prerequisites you check off a list. They are the result, the fruit of making that dedicated, prayerful effort to serve again and again. We start where we are, with sincerity, and the very act of serving begins to mold us, with God's help, into the kinds of instruments needed.
That reliance on the transformative power of the action itself. That's a powerful thought to end on for this section. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into section 2 of Ruhi Book 6. There's still one more crucial part to cover. Next time, we'll shift from the inner qualities to the practical steps involved in the act of teaching itself. So please, if this was helpful, do subscribe to the channel. Maybe check out the membership options too. Your support really does make these detailed explorations possible. We look forward to continuing the journey through Book 6 with you next time. And again, a massive thank you to all our subscribers and a warm welcome to our new channel members. We really appreciate you being here.